For all of you out there who have found the success of Diablo Immortal remarkably annoying, considering the predatory nature of its microtransaction, not to mention the "don't you guys have phones" BlizzCon, I have very good news, as it appears as if Blizzard's latest microtransaction-laden monstrosity might be locked out of the world's largest microtransaction market because an employee, rogue or otherwise, decided to take the piss out of China's president. Oh, now that's funny. Now you know that is funny. Diablo Immortal release in China reportedly in jeopardy, oh that's putting it mildly, after Blizzard Weibo account insults Xi Jinping. So this is Xi Jinping right here. He has elected himself president for life in China. Chinese democracy is rather funny, by the way. And, you might wonder, so the message he received was, they're translated here as, "Why isn't Winnie the bear going out of office yet?" I think I've found about 4 different translations of this thing so far, with variations of, "Why isn't the bear leaving office?" "When is the bear getting out of office?" etc, stuff like that. So don't exactly quote me on the verbiage, as Chinese is a rather interpretive language, it seems. But we can tell for absolute certain this was viewed as some sort of insult. Because, yeah, it does appear as if Diablo Immortal's fast-track process through the Chinese censorship system, they have an entire organization dedicated to this shit, appears to have come to a rather sudden halt. You do not take the piss out of the Chinese supreme leader. It's a very bad idea. It's a bit of a vengeful man, you see. And if you're wondering what the bear thing is about, well, for some reason or another, a lot of people in China thought that this looked an awful lot like, Winnie the Pooh, and Xi Jinping took quite a lot of offense up against that, and basically outlawed any and all comparisons of himself with Winnie the Pooh, or even any reference to or examples of Winnie the Pooh being mentioned or printed or anything. Full, kill order right there. So a Blizzard employee posting this on their official Blizzard account. Ah, shit not where ye eat, Activision. Even you should know this much, right? Now, to be fair as well, it is a bit unclear whether or not this was actually a rogue employee who decided, time to make a statement, and simply just pumped this out, and it has happened in the past with various, industry Twitter accounts, or if this was simply he forgot to log out, which pretty big screw up in that case, but it could also happen pretty quickly. Then again, I mean, I thought social media was meant for making, political points and virtue signaling a little bit. Blizzard, what's wrong? Was this political point a little bit too strident? Maybe. I mean, LGBTQ stuff. Yeah, that's fine because it's not particularly controversial in the West. But insulting the man who, by all intents and purposes, appears, and let's be careful with our wordage here, appears to be running slave labor camps for a segment of his population. Oh, that's a bit too much right there. And then again, it is a microtransaction, little predatory piece of shit video game, which is practically designed for the Chinese market, as by and large, Asia, China, and Japan, these various countries here, Korea as well, they have a much higher tolerance for abusive and predatory microtransaction practices than we have here in the West. They, or in Japan in particular, they've gotten used to rebuying the same title like 3 times for different costumes. Like they have a very high pain tolerance for this. On the other hand, they have a near 0% tolerance for any kind of, political insertion in the games, or a bad game for that sake. I believe Subverse recently got a whole heap of controversy and a massive amount of negative reviews, for example, because they said that translating the game into Chinese was not a priority right now because what did they say? Like, it was something like it was already translated in Japanese or Korean or something, and therefore, that was as good as anything. Yeah, they didn't like that very much, but when it comes to microtransactions, they have a much higher pain threshold, to the point where a lot of the Korean MMOs and stuff that eventually do get released over here in the West have to have that portion of the game scaled back quite a bit. But the point is, this was probably Diablo Immortal's biggest market, and I say was because I don't know if even Bobby Kotick can deep throat a cock hard enough to make up for this. I don't know if it's physically possible, is what I'm saying here, because, yeah, this would take some serious filleting. Serious, God. Anywho, but the big problem here, too, is, again, big market, absolutely, but Diablo Immortal might not quite be reaching up to its goal. Now, I know there's a lot of discussion and controversy around this, because on the one hand, it earned like, what was it, $30 million in the first 48 hours or so of release, which had a lot of people going like, oh god, no, the sheep are ruining it for all of us, and yes, they kind of are. Diablo Immortal was feared to be exactly what it is, a microtransaction hellhole, and it was also feared that people would pour money into it simply because, well, it's a new Diablo game. The new proper one is years and years away, and Diablo 3... I mean, speaking for myself, that was one hell of a disappointment from one end to another. I played it during the whole real-life, real money marketplace days as well, where they heavily screwed with the drop rates, which made the game exceedingly unenjoyable. Maybe it's better now, I can't be bothered to find out, frankly. Not to mention the infamous bug that locked out most of the people trying to play it for a week or two. That was hilarious as well, absolutely. But, like, put this into perspective, shall we, okay? Because Diablo Immortal, okay, $30 million in a couple of days, that's ridiculously huge, sure, but Diablo 3 earned like $100 million in its first 24 hours. You could kind of view Immortal as a little bit of a failure, at least initially. However, if it does get released in China, the number's going to pick up awfully quickly and might very well eclipse Diablo 3 completely, in which case, well, here's the problem. As we have seen again and again with the video game industry, if you reward their shitty business practices, don't be shocked when they continue pushing them. But luckily, we might have a Blizzard employee to thank for that not being the case here, as, again, the Chinese state is not known for its magnanimity or its ability to just forgive and forget, you know? Not a common trait associated with them. So in all due likelihood, this will be the end for Diablo Immortal in China, unless a sizable bribe or concession in some way, shape or form is offered up to the correct governmental employees. I seem to remember during the King Empire period, it was common to hand over Bentleys and shit to ambassadors. Maybe try that, Blizzard. I'm sure you can afford it now that you're getting bought up by Microsoft, etc. And hey, I'm sure your new overlords at Microsoft as well would be kinda peeved if you lost to one of the world's largest gaming markets because you can't keep your employees in check. After all, you've already got a problem with them getting drunk on the job place and stealing people's breast milks, was it? Hey, okay. Alternative explanation here. This wasn't a rogue employee, and it wasn't a person who simply forgot to log out of this account and into his private one, because criticizing Xi Jinping even in private is a hazard sport at times. No. This is the guy who was breaking into the breast milk freezer, and clearly, he's had a bit too much. You never know what they put in that Californian breast milk these days, after all. A far more reasonable explanation in my opinion, but I'm happy to see this. I actually genuinely am, because Diablo Immortal, I have not been following it much, and frankly, I don't care. Like, okay, the sheep will sheep. It's as simple as that. No matter how loudly the rest of us might bleat in protest, it ain't gonna help. The simple fact is there's a hell of a lot more casuals than there are, well, the more proper style gamers out there. And hey, to be fair as well, I know the other side of the argument. I have wailed on more than a few free-to-play games simply because at this point in time, I have more money than time. That's exactly what Diablo Immortal hopes that you do as well. Not an easy solution, but simply not playing would probably be the best one. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.